Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, going to be talking through a couple player props I like on Prizepicks for tonight's NBA games on Tuesday, April the 11th. Now we just have two games tonight, and moving forward, we're only going to have like a few games a day because we do have the postseason starting now. The regular season is officially over. We're on to the play-in tournament and into the playoffs. So there's only going to be like 2, 3, maybe 4 games a day, moving forward. But there's still going to be player props to like and player props worth betting on. And throughout the postseason, pretty much all the way up until the NBA Finals, I'm going to be still making content for Prizepicks, still giving you guys some props I like each day. It's going to be a lot tougher, especially as we get later on in the postseason, as we start to get less games each day. It is going to get tougher finding props to play, but I'm still going to try and do my best, give you guys at least 2 picks that I like each day. And I got 2 picks I like for these Tuesday games. We got the Hawks and the Heat playing, and then we have the Lakers and the Timberwolves playing. These are the 7 and 8 seed games, so the winner of these games gets the 7 seed in their conference. The loser of these games will get to play again on Friday for a chance to make the playoffs again. So these are technically not like do or die games, but we can still expect these games to be they should be competitive. Both these games have fairly tight spreads. We should expect main guys, the starters especially, to play really big minutes here, and you're definitely going to see that kind of starting off, and especially as you get later down the road in the postseason, you're going to see really heavy minutes for a lot of the main key guys. So we're going to talk about 2 props I do like for these Tuesday games. I got 1 prop from each game, and we're going to talk about some fantasy scores I'm liking. Prizepicks, they do have pretty much their full board posted. Like, I think they have all the props up already. They even have props up for Wednesday's games and even some of the games on Saturday. So you can take a look at their board, see if there's anything that stands out to you. They did add some new props as well. They added dunks, so you can take over or under how many dunks a guy has. You can take field goals attempted. So if you want to take how many shots a player is going to take. If you think they're going to take a lot of shots, you could take their over. If you don't think they're going to take that many shots, you could take their under. They have personal fouls as well, so you can take over or under on a player's personal fouls, like how many fouls they commit. This is pretty cool. A lot of new stats Prizepicks is adding. Don't think these are available like on any other site. So if you guys want to check these out, take a look at some of the props that Prizepicks has available. Again, you guys can sign up for Prizepicks. You can use my promo code. If you do sign up with my promo code Noah, you look at the bottom of the screen. When you sign up with my promo code, Prizepicks will match your first deposit up to $100. So definitely check them out. If you have not yet, take a look at all these player props they have, all the new stats they have as well for these NBA games. And since it is Tuesday today, it is Taco Tuesday. The tacos last week I don't think were that great, but we'll see what kind of tacos we get for these games. Hopefully there'll be some good ones. But let's go ahead and talk through these 2 plays I do like for these games. We're going to start off with a guy that I don't like betting on very often. It seems like anytime I take an over on him, he just always does terrible. But man, I really like this spot for Bam Adebayo. People are probably not going to like this play, and I know a lot of guys in my Discord are probably not going to like this play because anytime I take Bam and over on Bam, I swear he never hits. I think I'm like 0 for 7 on Bam, but I try not to let recency bias. I try not to let my emotions kind of dictate how what plays I like. If a guy never hits for me and I like the spot for them and I think the projection's too low or too high, I'm still going to take it regardless. I try not to make a ban list, as people like to say. But this projection on Bam Adebayo, 37.5 fantasy score. This line does feel a little bit too low for me for Bam, and I'm going to be taking him to go over this line. I like him to have more than 37.5 fantasy score. For one, I think it's a really good matchup for these Miami guys. When you're getting into the playoffs, into the play-in, you're not going to see like great matchups. It's going to be like the best teams facing each other, so you're not going to see great matchups really. But Atlanta is a pretty good matchup. Atlanta's defense has not been that great this season. They've really struggled defensively. In terms of defensive rating, Atlanta has been towards the bottom of the league in defensive rating this season. On the season, they ranked 22nd in defensive rating, but if you kind of look in like a recent sample, you look like over their last 15 games, Atlanta actually ranks 25th in defensive rating, so they've really struggled defensively as of late. I know Atlanta has given up a lot of points per game. I know Atlanta's been involved in a lot of high-scoring games as well. So I think this is a game that definitely could be high-scoring. And you look at Bam Adebayo this season, you look at what he's done against Atlanta. I try not to weight like player versus team stats too heavily, but Bam has had a lot of success against the Hawks this season. They faced 4 times. In those 4 games, he's gone over this fantasy score line in every single game. 40.7, 57.7, 58.1, and 43.1 fantasy points. So he's had at least 40 fantasy points in all 4 games against the Hawks this season. He's played about 34, 36 minutes in all those games. Bam has been playing about 35, 36 minutes a game during the regular season. Now heading into the play-in tournament and into the postseason, we might see Bam play 37, 38, maybe 40 minutes here. You will see guys play more minutes in the postseason. Maybe not like right out of the gate, but especially like if the Heat lose this game and then they have to play again in an elimination game on Friday, you're going to see really, really big minutes for those guys in that elimination game. But I still think we get big minutes right here from Bam. I think he plays 35, 36 minutes at least, as long as he like avoids foul trouble. And Bam's been a good per minute producer. I know he's kind of been up and down this season. He's had some good games. He's had some bad games. He's still a guy that's going to average well over a fantasy point per minute. He's been, this season, he's averaged 1.14 fantasy points per minute when you look at like FanDuel points per minute, which is the same fantasy score system that Prizepicks uses. And Bam, when he typically plays like 36 minutes or more times than not, he's going to go over 37.5 fantasy score. Over his last 25 games where he's played at least 36 minutes, he's over this fantasy score line in 17 out of those 25 games. And again, the games against Atlanta where he's played 36 plus minutes, 57.7 fantasy points, 58.1, 40.7. Matchup here I think is really good. Atlanta's defense is not that great. Atlanta's been giving up a lot of fantasy points to centers as well on the season in terms of fantasy points allowed to the center position. They've allowed the 9th most fantasy points to centers. If you look at a recent sample, though, over their last 15 games, Atlanta has allowed the 6th most fantasy points to centers. So really like the spot for Bam. He's had a lot of success against Atlanta this season. The minutes should be through the roof here in a very important game. It's not a must-win game for Miami, but you would think they probably want to try and go ahead and get a win here and punch their spot into the playoffs. So I think we can expect really big minutes from Bam. I know, anytime I take Bam, man, anytime I take an over on him, the dude just never comes through for me. But this is a spot that I really like. I definitely think this 37.5 fantasy score line is a little bit too low. So that's the first play that I like for today. And then going to the next game, the Lakers and the Timberwolves. Another fantasy score prop that I like quite a bit is Anthony Davis, 48.5 fantasy score. I think this line's a little bit too low as well, and I really like the spot for Anthony Davis going up against the Timberwolves, who are going to be without Rudy Gobert here. We all saw what happened with Rudy Gobert and Kyle Anderson on the sidelines. On the bench, those guys got into a little bit of altercation. Gobert shoved Anderson, or it looked like he threw a punch at him. Gobert has already been suspended for this game, so he's not going to play here, and that's going to mean probably Karl Anthony Towns is going to be on Anthony Davis here. And I try not to look at like one-on-one matchups too much, because I think for the most part, basketball at this point has become a positionless sport. You'll see guards, guard centers. I mean, LeBron's technically like a power forward, but I mean he can guard like any position. So basketball is kind of becoming like a positionless sport. But we're going to see most likely Karl Anthony Towns guard Anthony Davis here without with Gobert not out there. And Karl Anthony Towns, he's not a good defender at all. He's a guy that I think Anthony Davis can definitely have success against. And, if they try and throw like Luka Garza on AD, if they try and give Nathan Knight some minutes to center and he guards AD, this is a spot where I think AD should be able to have plenty of success. You look at how AD's been playing lately. The game log's been really consistent, really good over this fantasy score line in 4 out of his last 5 games. He's been playing really, really big minutes. The Lakers, they've been having to play in like a lot of games lately that they've really needed to win. And we're seeing AD play big minutes in those games. Played 34 last game against Utah. Played 34 against Phoenix. The game against the Clippers, played 32. But the game against Utah, that was a really important game. He played 42 minutes in that one. That game did go to overtime. But still, even before overtime, he had played 37 minutes. I think in a game like this, a game that the Lakers obviously want to try and win, go ahead and punch their ticket to the playoffs, we can expect AD to play really big minutes here. I'm thinking 35, 36 minutes at least for Anthony Davis, if not more than that. And you look at Anthony Davis this season in terms of like points per minute. He's been a great point per minute player. He's actually been a better point per minute player than LeBron has. So it was kind of surprising to see LeBron have a higher projection than Anthony Davis, when this season, Anthony Davis has averaged more fantasy points per minute than LeBron has. And I think they're going to play pretty similar minutes. Maybe Anthony Davis actually plays like a minute or two more than LeBron. We've seen LeBron's minutes not be like super high lately, but obviously in the play-in tournament and in the postseason, I think LeBron can play full minutes. But if we're getting like 36 minutes or more from Anthony Davis, 48.5 fantasy score does feel a little bit too low. We know that Anthony Davis is a guy that can stuff the stat sheet. He doesn't have to go out there and score 40 points to go over this line. He could get 20 points, 15 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. He can have those games where he racks up a ton of blocks and steals, and those are very important. They're huge for Prizepicks fantasy score system, because you get 3 points for every block and steal. And we can see those games where AD gets 3 blocks, 3 steals. He's got that in him. So if he plays 36 plus minutes here with how good of a fantasy point per minute player he is and a good matchup, I like his chances of going over this fantasy score line. You look at Anthony Davis this season in the games where he's played 36 minutes or more, There's been 21 games where he's played 36 minutes or more this season. He's gone over this fantasy score line in 17 out of those 21 games. In the games where he did not get to 48.5 fantasy, he came up just short. There was a game against Denver, he had 48 fantasy. There was a game against Phoenix, he had 47.3. Against Dallas, he had 43.5. And then against the Knicks, he had 40.3. All those other games, though, where he's played at least 36 minutes, he has gone over this fantasy score line. And I do want to mention that he has already faced Minnesota twice this season. He's over this fantasy score line in both of those games. He put up 50 fantasy points in 32 minutes against Minnesota, and then he put up 64.4 fantasy points in 37 minutes against them. 38 points, 17 rebounds, a steal and 2 blocks, 38 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks. So he's had a lot of success against the Timberwolves this year. I think we're going to see a lot of the same today, or Tuesday, and this is a fantasy score prop that I do think is a little bit too low. So these are 2 props I'm liking for Tuesday's games, guys. Again, there's a lot on the board. Even though it's just a 2-game slate, even though we only have 2 games on Tuesday night, there are plenty of props to choose from. You can take a look at all the props that Prizepicks has posted. If there's anything that stands out to you, again, you're just taking more or less on a player's projection. It's as simple as that. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 6 picks. You can win up to 25x your money on Prizepicks. They do offer a lot of other sports as well outside of just NBA. So if you like to look at other sports like MLB, PGA, soccer, whatever it may be, Prizepicks probably offers it. You can mix and match sports on Prizepicks. Check them out, guys. Sign up. Use that promo code NOAH. When you sign up with my promo code, you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100. But that's all that I got for this Tuesday slate, guys. I'm excited that the play-in tournaments here and kind of the postseason is starting to get underway. This should be a lot of fun. I'm excited to watch these games. Hopefully we get some good competitive games this playoffs. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. Appreciate you watching. As always, make sure, again, you hit that like button before you get out of here. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And I do wish you guys the best of luck on the slate. Hopefully we can all win some money tonight. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.